Welcome to the Wheel With It podcast with your host, Devon. Let's get into the episode.
And in the process of solving a lot of problems, I have come across different kind of problems. And because of that, and in an attempt to solve those problems and make sure that we surmount them, I find myself mastering a lot of skills. So it wasn't I went after those different skills, it was because I simply wanted to solve many more problems.
Hello. What is up, guys? My name is Devon Wieters. Welcome to another episode of Wheel With It. Today, I think you're going to enjoy this conversation because we have David on the podcast with us today. His name is hard to pronounce, his last name, so I'm not going to even try because I know I'll butcher it. But he was full of energy and I had so much fun. And he's full of faith and full of positive energy. And I know you guys need a little more of that, as we all do. And if you're a cybersecurity professional or know one, forward this podcast onto them because there are a lot of good cybersecurity tips, as he also happens to specialize in cybersecurity. So we talk a little bit about that. I know you're really going to be inspired by this one and David's energy, so please enjoy my conversation with David. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Wheel With It. Today we have David. I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name. How do you pronounce that?
Adeoye, bordering, but Adeoye is fine. David Adeoye.
Adeoye. I hope I pronounced that right on the podcast with us today. How are you, David?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine, Devon. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I should say thank you so much for requesting me because we don't get these often around here. But he actually requested to be on my podcast, so
Thank you so much.
that means a lot to me. Okay, tell us about yourself, David, and then we'll get started.
Okay, my name is David. As you rightly introduced me, I work as an Agile Transformation Coach, a project manager, done serious work in human capital over the years. I have a total experience covering a wide breadth of industries. I've worked in the past 2.5 decades thereabout in telecommunications and IT, which was my original background. And then I went to consulting in project and program management at the Agile realms, and also in HR and human capital consulting with some sprinkle of psychology here and there. And I'm excited to be here. I help organizations and individuals use unusual insights to find solutions that are uncommon, but gives them great levels of productivity. And I'm excited to be here with you today, Devon.
That is awesome. Yeah, I should say, what don't you do? Because you're really doing a lot there. So tell us about how you got into this space.
All right. From my teenage years, I have been a student of learning. I love to learn, and that dates back to my curiosity. I'm just a very humble, curious persona. I love to learn what you call a marvel of some sorts. And this led me into explorations of different kinds and types. Although my original professional academic leanings was in engineering, again, which gave me the basis for rigorous thinking and wide applicability of thoughts. And I believe that a human being has infinite capacities from what I read in many of the materials in my earliest teenage years and my studies. It revealed quite in my early teenage years that you can actually become anything that you want to become, and you can read your way through anything. So this curiosity has done a lot for me, and I love to develop myself and also apply myself to solve problems. And so along the way, anytime I meet any problem in my professional life, this always pushes me to attempt to solve it. And in the process of solving a lot of problems, I have come across different kind of problems. And because of that, and in an attempt to solve those problems, and make sure that we surmount them. I find myself mastering a lot of skills. So it wasn't that I went after those different skills, it was because I simply wanted to solve many more problems. This was my formula. And over the years, this is 2.5 decades. Much more recently, I went back to school, for example, my MBA at the Hult International Business School, and also did a second master's in cybersecurity, threat intelligence, and cyber forensics, because my first degree anyway was in telecommunications engineering. So along those lines, I decided that we need to also make the world a better, a safer place to live. Anyway, I've been in technology anyway all my career, and cybersecurity also again in the past 12 years. So I found myself doing a lot of things because I love to solve problems. And once the problem catches my attention, in an attempt to solve it, I get the skills. So it's not the skill for me, it's the problems that make me to go in the direction of the skills anyway.
So I see in my notes that you specialize in cybersecurity. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. One of my specializations, cybersecurity, threat intelligence, and cyber forensics. Do some work in helping organizations and individuals stay cyber safe. And number two, I also do project and program management within the cybersecurity world. And some of my agile work is also within cybersecurity realms.
So how can organizations combat cyber threats?
Threat, you mean? First of all, it's the concept of how we look at cyber threats have gone beyond textbooks. They have entered into the core of the business processes. Many organizations start out thinking about the business and how much money they want to make, and they make their business plan. Seldom do we think about cyber threats as what occurs naturally with the business day-to-day running. Now, the thinking has to change, or it's already changing, because cyber criminals, wherever there's money or there is value, even though it may be in the raw form, cyber criminals or cyber threats exists. So the first way to think about it is to say, what is the value chain of the organization? Once you have value chain, through that chain, there are different kinds of threats that the organization is exposed to. So there are different dimensions of this. You want to think about the information assets or the cyber assets of the organization. You want to think about how vulnerable those are. You want to think about what are the solutions to the vulnerability. You want to think about the risks involved, and all of this will help you to see the threats. And when it helps you to see the threats, immediately you can begin to see how you can combat the cyber threats.
I had to go through cyber threat training, and these cyber people are getting so smart now.
Yeah.
What shocked me was the two-factor authentication.
Yep.
That they now know how to get past two-factor authentication without you
Yep.
even knowing it, because
Yep.
they'll send you to a site that you think is Google,
Yep.
and then you cannot trust anybody. So it's very shocking how good these cyber criminals are.
Yes, yes. And it's a really big challenge. The key here is that we must go beyond cyber awareness to cyber presence of mind. That you're aware of a problem or something that can go wrong does not mean you are present in awareness in the moment. So there must be cyber awareness in the moment. Be careful what you click and have the presence of mind to double check, because there's the moment of the cyber threat in the life of the cyber user. That moment is a flip moment when you are tired. It looks like the Google page, has the Google logos, and you're not present in the moment. Then you click. And once you click it, challenges begin to happen to you. When those challenges happen to you, what begins to happen is that you are not in control anymore. You've granted access, and the risks, the problems that can emanate from clicking the wrong things are long. From Trojans.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh
Like
my.
they went through they didn't give us a whole list, but they went through all the stuff that you could have happen. They told us about, did you hear about that story here in the US where somebody shut down an entire gas pipeline?
No, I've not heard that story. Where was that?
I don't know exactly where it was. I'll have to look it up. I wish I could look it up, but I'll have to look it up. But somebody shut down an entire gas pipeline.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they didn't have, luckily we got it back up and running quickly in like less than a day, so it wasn't too bad. But
Oh
people were
wow.
freaking out. So they were like getting like those gas cans that you see and filling them up with gas. And so anyway, whatever cyber criminal from, he was from some other country, and
Wow.
whatever cyber criminal hacked into the gas line by stealing an insurance password.
Wow. Wow.
Like,
Wow. Wow.
gosh.
Wow. Wow. That's serious. That is serious. The cyber criminal world is getting crazy. There are elements now that, like crime as a service, is so crazy right now. The volume of problems that can ensue from it is super amazing.
Yeah. I was like, wow, if they can shut down a whole gas line, then they can do pretty
Yeah,
much anything.
yeah,
Ridiculous.
yeah,
And I thought
yeah,
it was like, I always thought it was some high up computer. No, it was an insurance for the company,
yeah.
and they stored her
Wow,
password.
wow, wow. An intern in the company. And before you
Yeah.
know it, the whole gas pipeline. And that's what I said. Once the value chain is at risk, then it's a problem. The value chain is a big issue. Once any part of the value chain is attacked, then it's a big issue. Anything can happen from there. And it can really be crazy.
Yeah, and it's so crazy now. What are some emerging cyber threats that businesses should be aware of, and how can they prepare for them?
Yeah, the trend of crime as a service. The
Can you
nature,
explain what you mean by that?
okay, this is the entire cyber phenomenon that people now offer crime as a service. So people are willing to take crime up organized. They invest money. Think about a small business startup offering cyber solutions that you can use to find vulnerabilities, that you can use to do offensive reconnaissance, to look at the
Yeah.
weakness of infrastructure, that can maliciously enter into your network and gather data, that can, number four, come into your network and immediately begins to create backlogs of your data and print it on a server online. And then you can observe the patterns of the network, and it's sitting down there, not you not knowing what's going on. Now, the meaning of that is going from a chance event to really organize. Just say when you have software as a service, you now have crime as a service, a whole infrastructure of business ready to launch. So that trend, organizations need to be aware that there are people now who put money into the business of cyber crimes with a view to make the business lose advantage.
So
Or
basically, there are small businesses in cybercrime now.
yes, there are fully funded, and individuals are willing to put money aside on a monthly basis
That's
to.
ridiculous.
Oh, it's amazing. Look, Devon, you won't believe the stress around it. You won't believe how crazy it is now. And it's a global phenomenon. It's not only one market, it's all over the world. So that's one on one side. Another trend, another trend that organizations need to be aware of is what you call advanced persistent threat groups. These are groups of individuals who launch attacks at an advanced levels, and they use tools like artificial intelligence to launch attacks. So they stream malicious traffic at your vulnerabilities on a continuous basis. So while you're sleeping, whether you're awake, it's not a human being, it's a machine that is trying to penetrate your network through another machine.
That's ridiculous. Okay.
It's a problem. It's continuous 24 hours, the streaming goes on, and that's advanced persistent groups, advanced persistent threat groups. The other thing is that state-sponsored terrorism that doesn't appear like state-sponsored terrorism. So you got a whole nation like Russia or China trying to penetrate the networks of small and medium scale enterprises in the United States or in the UK or in South Africa or any other economy. So the war, the battle for the supremacy of nations is now being prosecuted on the cyber terrain. Some have even said that Third World War will be cyber. So that is the third kind of trend. And I can go on and on. The fourth one is the principle of the weakest link, that the strongest opportunities for the hack exist with the human soul, that ultimately all hacks are human.
Yes, that's what they told us in the video, basically, that all hacks are human. Like,
all hacks, yes.
the best way
Ultimately,
to hack the computer is to hack the human.
hack the human being. Ultimately, so your best firewalls are human firewalls, and that is enlightened users. And again, the fifth kind of trend leans from that. It's better to have human firewalls than machine firewalls. Human firewalls, how do you move human beings into the state of mind? How do you turn human beings into efficient and effective systems of cyber barricade? And that is a whole gamut of behavioral change. How do you achieve that change and ensure that change is lasting and people don't reverse back to old behaviors? Those are practical trends that I would like to highlight to businesses. I can go on and on. This is something I love to do. And the trends in cyber forensics, that the trends in threat intelligence, and there are also the trends in general governance, risk, and compliance of cybersecurity.
I know this is not what this podcast is about, but I have to ask you, if the Third World War is indeed cyber, how would we even start to win that?
Yes, some specialists, some professionals, and some futurists have said the Third World War would be, if it ever happens, cyber. The case in Russia, the recent brouhaha between Russia and what's that nation? I think it's Ukraine. Yes, shows us that cyber would have a large place to space within the warfare, the modern warfare we're going to see, because it was huge. Cyber was a major part of it. Number one, nations are waking up to this. The United States, for example, they now have a cyber terrorism full army unit. Just so you have the army, the navy, and the air force, there's now the cyberspace command.
That's cool, crazy and cool. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to research how to help out with this cyberspace command, because that just sounds really cool.
Yeah. Because when you have war, in water or in space, the airspace, then you can also have war in the cyberspace. So we have cyberspace command. That's the first one. So most nations, including the United Kingdom and most of the serious countries of the world, are beginning to set up the cyber command centers for excellence in terms of warfare. The other part is that nations are beginning to pay attention and do what you call public enlightenment and put policies and laws in place to ensure that people are safe. For example, in China, there's a new regulatory law that says that if you're a businessman or a CEO, through your business, your customers suddenly become vulnerable, you will have to pay a certain amount. For example, their data gets breached through one of your operations, you will have to pay. And in some cases, you probably have to go to jail. This is happening right now in mainland China. So nations are beginning to pass the responsibility of keeping us safe with the business owners because of widespread attacks. The third thing I know nations are doing to stem cyber wars is to go with more stringent governance, risk, and compliance laws around the telecommunications organizations, the entertainment cable companies, all the touch points of communication, particularly when it comes to public infrastructure. And the fourth one I also know is critical network infrastructure. These are the things like the gas lines, the electric lines, the water systems. As we approach the mega city and as we begin to see the Internet of Things, threat on these entities will be more. So governments are spending some amount of capacity and capital to ensure that we have safety, and that there are specific governance, risk, and compliance laws that the companies that offer these services must adhere to. And investment in this region is very huge. There's also responsibility reporting. Once you have a breach, there are different laws based on what size you are as an individual or as a business. You must report quickly. In the United Kingdom, it's called the Office of the Commissioner of Information, Ofcom. In the United States, there's also a complementary body that you must report what the challenge is quickly, by the way.
That is insane. I have to go back and listen to that again. That's insane. Thank you for sharing all that. Hopefully that will be very helpful if any cyber professionals listen to this. So back to what we're here for. You also coach, is that correct?
Yes, I coach. Yes, I do.
And your coaching philosophy combines professional development with spiritual growth. How do these two aspects intersect and contribute to personal and organizational transformation?
Yeah. Man is spirit that lives in a body and has a mind. And there's a link between your mind and your spirit. First of all, you cannot have any of the good development energies or positive energies without a measure of spirituality. The root of it is in spirituality. For example, kindness, to be kind, to have long suffering, to have patience. These are the roots. For example, if you want to learn mathematics, you must have some amount of long suffering so that you pass through the phase of pressure and stress. Otherwise, you
I
give up.
know that. I struggled mightily with math in school. So
Yeah. So if you don't have patience and long suffering, for example, which are components of a spiritual character, you will not have the patience to succeed on the activity, so you get personally productive when it comes to mathematics. Same for organizations. There's a correlation between how kind people are, and kindness is a fruit of spirituality. It's been proven by research that is a proof of spirituality. So if you're not a kind organization, it means that you're not kind to your people and your people are not kind to you. And then people come to your office, or you don't have joy. There's a whole lot of studies that have shown the correlation between the level of joy within an organization and how productive people are. Nobody likes stress. Nobody likes to come to an office where you want to go home, where everything is toxic. You come to office on Monday morning, you see the office on Monday morning, and you are very sad. And on Friday evening, you're so excited to leave. That organization is a matter of time, is on its way down, because joy and kindness, because their energies in themselves, is not the way the mind of the people are relating with that business. So there is a nexus of the spiritual energy or the spiritual capital of a business with the organizational capacity and success of the business.
that is so true, because I enjoy the place where I work. But I know a lot of people who don't, and it does affect you if you like really hate your job. Oh, what in the realm of human capital management and just anywhere, what strategies do you recommend to foster a positive place culture that aligns with your organizational goals?
So the first question is, what are your organizational goals? And there's a dissonance. When people mention their goals, there's a dissonance between what they feel and what they pen down. There must be a congruence between what you feel and what you pen down. So when you say what are your organizational goals, there must be alignment and congruence. You cannot set goals that introduce disparity between your organization's true identity and the destination that you want to go. There must be that alignment. That's the first thing I'll say about organizational goals. So organizational goals must be crafted that way on one side. There must be alignment and congruence between identity and the goals. You must have the identity the identity construct to achieve those goals. Now, culture is engineered, and the job of cultural engineering comes from the top. So it is executives that set the climate of the organization. That climate must be also set to agree with the goals. You cannot have a culture, because culture is the engine room of productivity. Whenever strategy meets with culture, culture will always swallow strategy up. The behavioral patterns, the predominant norms and nuances, the belief system and logos of an organization will drown any written strategy, no matter well crafted. So we must engineer culture or behavioral patterns, and that has some techniques. How do you set culture? There's some strategies. Number one, you must be clear. Number two, you must set boundaries, upper and lower limit, identify the behavior, let it be defined. Now, are you working against the reverse? Do you have a cultural pattern that is different from the original disposition of the people? Or do you have a cultural pattern that's already in alignment? And then you need to calibrate. Are we at 1.0 today in that behavior? For example, we don't want people to come late to work. We want them to come early. So how early do people come today? How many of our people today come early? Why aren't they coming early? Is it because they don't enjoy the job? Is it because it's toxic work environment? So we must put the surrounding infrastructure to make that behavioral change or cultural change easy. We need to make work more comfortable so that people are sad to leave on Friday and excited to come in the morning. And there are companies that have done this all over the world. There's Disney. There are a lot of models about how you can, like Google, people don't want to leave. So you must create a work culture by deliberately doing action steps. You must engage what you call culture engagement specialist or culture evangelist. And it's a whole system of thinking to ensure that you drive and align those strategies. So the strategy, the culture, the goal, I beg your pardon, the goal, the culture must align. If there's a delta, the strategy is to look at what is our goals. Hopefully you've aligned your goals to the identity on one side, and what are the different elements of culture, and how do we put the culture in place, and then we must reinforce and reward when people demonstrate the kind of change we want to see in terms of culture. We calibrate this on level, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or any calibration you want, and then you measure, and then you watch for the change over the years. And there are many change models. There is ADKAR model, there is the Who Moved My Cheese model. There are several models around how you want to administer change, and it's a whole area in itself. But yes, it can be done, but it must be deliberately done.
That is incredible what you just said. And speaking of faith, you've been recognized as an apostle. Can you tell us how that came about?
Okay, that's a calling. An apostle is a pioneer. An apostle is one who leads understanding and has been given an assignment to deliver to people or help people through something. It's a man on a mission called by his creator or by his conviction to lead people onto some certain specific dimensions of life. Simply put this way, an apostle drives results in a certain area to pioneer results for humanity in a certain dimension as graced or as given the capabilities and endowments by his creator and by his design.
So that is crazy. Do you mind me asking what, in a good way, do you mind me asking what faith you subscribe to?
I'm a Christian.
Oh,
I'm a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ as a son of God. Of course, I'm aware there are other persuasions around the faith, and I'm one that I embrace.
that's cool. So, how did your faith influence your coaching style and the way you guide individuals in unlocking their potential and purpose?
My faith guides everything in my life, because I believe that my life is stewardship. I have been given by God everything I have. I do not own anything, including my understanding, my wisdom, and everything that God has given me. I didn't pay for my eyes. I didn't pay for my leg. I didn't pay for my nose. I didn't pay for my brain. So I'm very grateful. Gratitude is where I start from. I am very grateful. I've been given this one life by God to impact humanity. This is my core philosophy. And I also maintain a very strong leaning to the Lord. Everything comes from Him and everything will eventually return to Him. So this is my core belief. And then I believe in service. And David, in the Bible, the king, served his generation until he was no more. I believe in serving people and helping people from the dimensions of God's grace. From the grace I've received, I'm able to serve others, not of my own ability or my own power, but of Him who has chosen me to be an able servant or an able helper or an able dispensation of the same grace. For by the comfort which I've been comforted, I hereby comfort others. When you are converted, strengthen the brethren. We live in a world of pain. We live in a world where people are going through a lot of stuff, and we need more healers and more helpers and more strengtheners, not because we are stronger or we are strong, only because we have to heal, only because we have to help, only because we have to be strong for others in our midst. And so this is the first foundation of what I do. It's a heart of love and service. Number two is that I'm totally persuaded that God has a plan for every single life, and that ultimately God can, even if things are negative, God can bring out the best from every negative circumstance. So I approach my coaching practice this way. I approach my solutions this way. And typically from that energy, I'm able to help my generation dispense the grace of God in my work.
I almost hate to ask this, but is there anything else you'd like to add after that? Wow.
I would like to say that God loves everyone. We may not have because there are many questions. Somebody will say, if God loves everyone, why is there pain in the world? Why does evil happen? There's a lot of debate around that, but I'm aware that God loves everyone and God has a plan to bring all to Himself in love and in a lot of positivity. And it's not matter how negative something is, we can make it better through the grace of God. The other thing is that if anybody will open themselves to, He's willing to do far exceedingly abundantly above all you are able to ask or imagine, according to the power that works within us. There is the grace of God. He has set eternity, by the way, in the heart of every man. Everyone has a dimension of God if we just open up to Him. So the counsel that I will give everyone listening to me is to open up to God, and He will always reveal Himself to you. Now, loads of theological debates and questions again, but this is my persuasion, and this is what I have seen. You see, that which we have seen, which we have heard, which we have handled of the word of life is what we proclaim. What I have seen in my own life is what I can share. I can have mercy on anybody and change anyone's story. This is the base upon which no condition is hopeless, no client is helpless. There is a solution for every problem if you are willing to be diligent and careful about it. And lastly, call to God. When things are very difficult, and I encounter difficult challenges and clients and people, adversarial attacks, all sorts. People hate what I do. People set traps all the time. What I do is to call to God. He said, call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will show you great and mighty things that you do not know anything about. There is something you don't know that God can show you. There's a solution you don't know as a consultant, as a coach, whatever you're doing. There's something you don't know that God can help you with. And lastly, I would like to say, is any of you in trouble? Let him pray. You see, my challenge to everyone is to pray, to call to God, and He's able to help you. Whatever the condition you're going through, no matter how difficult, call to God and He can help you. That's the last thing I would like to add. So this is the basis of one of the strongest points of genius for any human being on earth is to partner with God to help you deliver your solutions.
That is mic drop. If I had a mic I could drop, I would drop it. Where can people follow you on social media, David?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You just type at Adeoye, Abodunrin. I could drop that in the chat so you can let me share it. Let me look for that link very quickly. That's my LinkedIn. You can also get me on Facebook as the same name, just on social media, both on LinkedIn and on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, drop all those links in the chat for me if you would, and we'll have them in the
Yeah.
show notes.
I have a page and I have my personal profile on Facebook. So if you want to reach me, I'm available to chat, to hold conversations. I believe in supporting anyone to their dreams. I help individuals, organizations, and teams. I believe in bringing solutions all the time. Beyond anything else, I'm convinced that man should support man to succeed. So you can reach me through any of these. I'm available. Even if I don't respond on time, at times it could get very busy, I will eventually respond.
Okay, yeah, we will definitely put those in the show notes. I am copying them right now. And thank you so much for being on with us today, David. You were awesome.
Thank you much more for having me, Devon. Awesome time of discussion. Thank you for doing the amazing work you're doing. I am so excited to be part of your show. And please keep the good work up. I am happy you're doing this work, and I'm absolutely convinced that there will be much more success for you in what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm hopeful. If you ever want to come back and talk about anything, you're more than welcome to.
Awesome. I would like to come back whenever you would like to have me. I would like to come back. It's exciting discussing with you, and well done for what you're doing. I will certainly be in touch with you.
What's next for you?
Next for me is to solve many more problems, help many more people, make the world a better place to live. I have my agile practice. I also have my project management work, and to be a beacon, be a light to as many as I can, and also be responsible to those who are closest to me, and to love and cherish and make life a better place for everyone. Those are my philosophies.
We need more of that right now. Thank you so much for coming on with us today, and we will see you guys next episode. Bye, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. Remember to follow the show and our guests on social media and subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell so you'll get notified when we upload new episodes. See you next time.